笑，滔滔灭共潮。沧海一声笑，滔滔灭共潮。四海英雄聚今朝，苍天笑，花间战红高，浪沙淘尽怒白霄。整整70年，他把中华人民主义还让这片土地变得满目疮痍，全世界投毒制造各种生化武器。我去，他答应了人类命运共同体。山寨爆料，携手再有新天道，振兴我中华同胞兴起了灭共浪潮。壮志冲云霄，看那国旗飘飘，别鸟铁岭河上，神州阳光普照。江山笑，血雨遥，谁负谁生出一份笑。风萧萧，人笑险如潮，盘古开天风潮。3年多的爆料，就是这雅斯克重磅实锤，每天都有1点也不嫌多。以美灭共，以共灭共，还得靠我们战友们行动。天有我。沧海一声笑，滔滔灭共潮。沧海一声笑，滔滔灭共潮。四海英雄聚今朝，苍天笑，花间战红高，浪沙淘尽怒白霄。整整70年，他把中华人民主义还让这片土地变得满目疮痍，全世界投毒制造各种生化武器。我去，他答应了人类命运共同体。山寨爆料，携手再有新天道，振兴我中华同胞兴起了灭共浪潮。壮志冲云霄，看那国旗飘飘，别鸟铁岭河上，神州阳光普照。江山笑，血雨遥，谁负谁生出一份笑。风萧萧，人笑险如潮，盘古开天风潮。3年多的爆料，就是这雅斯克重磅实锤，每天都有1点也不嫌多。以美灭共，以共灭共，还得靠我们战友们行动。天有我中华儿女，共建联邦新中国。黑夜显曙光，照亮中华的眼。我们宏伟的火焰，我准备了3世祖业，越过了死亡幽谷，踏上了灭共之路。总有太多兄弟，我中华只能虚度。听风笑，收归正道。地州 寒苦相聚在今朝。我的梦，这是我一个最后的。Take down action action. Take down the CCP. Take down action action. Take down the CCP. La 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 la. La 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 la. CCP， 你完了！
Good evening, Fringers. Welcome to episode 40 of The Fringe. I'm your host, David Vincent Bob. The Fringe is brought to you every Tuesday and Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on gtv.org, MOS Talk. We thank you very much for joining us this evening, and we ask that you ask your family and friends to check us out again on gtv.org, MOS Talk. We have a very special show this evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are right here live again in downtown Manhattan, beautiful downtown Manhattan, right across the street from the Freedom Tower, to be exact. And I'm here with a couple very special people. To my right, I have the lovely Isla co-hosting tonight. Welcome to the show, Isla. Great to see you again.
Thank you, David, of course, and good evening, Fringers. I am Isla, your co-host tonight. It's my greatest honor and pleasure to be on the show again. Tonight, we will be having Chris as our special guest in the program, and we will also invite a special guest from Europe to help us talk about things related to COVID-19 pandemic. So, Chris, why don't you say hi to our Fringers?
Hello, Fringers. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks a lot for joining us, Chris. We really appreciate you being here on the show tonight. I met Chris through the whistleblower movement, and he's a great guy, and he has a lot of great knowledge about our government, about the CCP, about China, and we're looking forward to picking your brain, buddy, getting some great information out of you and sharing it with the rest of the world.
Happy to share.
Thank you so much. Okay, now let's move on right now to the hottest topic that's going on in the world right now, not only in the U.S. and in China, but in the world. Everybody is very, very aware of the fact that something we've been talking about for over a year now, that this virus, COVID-19, was created in a lab in Wuhan, China, at the WIV, the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Now, all of a sudden, the mainstream media has finally decided that they're going to side with us after millions of deaths and hundreds of millions of infections and start to investigate this as we have been telling them to do. You know, if they would have listened to us a year ago, Isla, how many lives could we have saved?
Hundreds of millions,
Yeah.
right?
It's unbelievable. So what we're going to do now is get right into that right away. And what I really want to talk about is how the mainstream media has been blocking us from even talking about this all the way, Chris, going back to the Trump era. While Trump was in presidency, Facebook shut down anybody that posted anything about the virus. So I think the first thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to go right to Fox in Germany. Is that correct, Isla? Do we want to talk to her right now?
Well, first, I think before we move on to Fox, I want to hear some opinions from Chris, our special guest tonight. So, in your opinion, like, how do you understand COVID-19? Because it's been a long year for all of us. People are doing quarantines, wearing masks everywhere, and being locked at their homes. So what's your pandemic life right now, and how does the COVID-19 affect you personally?
Well, it's been pretty tough. One of the bad things that happened to me was I ended up losing a job that I had gotten because of the pandemic that we were, stricken with here. The company that I was working for started losing business, and they needed to do some cost cutting. So they ended up cutting a bunch of people, and unfortunately, I got caught up in that. A lot of people, being stuck at home, don't have a way to get out. Untold numbers of jobs have been lost. The economy really took a massive hit by all of this, not to mention the mental health of people as well.
Right, I'm very sorry about your employment. I think many people have suffered the same issues under the pandemic, right? So I know that your family members actually support the whistleblowers movement.
Indeed.
And in the movement, we all know who Dr. Liman Yan is.
Yes.
She's the first virologist to define the pandemic as an unrestricted biological warfare. So how do you understand the concept, and do you believe that it's a warfare launched by the CCP, or you feel like it's a normal pandemic and we will go through this, and with a cure or with the vaccines available right now?
I don't think there's anything normal about this. I don't think there's anything natural about this. I do believe it was born and bred inside of the lab in Wuhan, and it got out by accident or by on purpose. I'm not sure which, but the CCP has been known for doing things to gain an advantage politically, geopolitically, for unknown decades. So it's one of those things that you really kind of have to sit back and wonder, what was their real goal, and was it to start bringing down the population of the world?
Yeah, I can give you my opinion on that, Chris. I think that the reason that they did this is because they do want to take over the world. Yeah. That's the end game for the CCP. We've talked about that before, Isla. The CCP, basically, they want to rule the world, and one of the ways they're going to do it is to, biologically, with the biological warfare. And there's other ways that they do it, but we know for a fact, ever since Dr. Liman Yang came over here a year ago and told us that this virus was created in the lab in Wuhan, and the end game of the CCP, as we all know, is world domination.
Yes.
We've talked before also about how this isn't the only lab in China that has a virus or that creates these man-made viruses. We know this is happening. There's over 100 over there.
Wow.
And their goal is to create this, what I think, and what the news we've heard about this, is that they're trying to create a humanity-ending virus, which they probably have the cure to, right, Isla?
Right, because what we see right now in the Western society is a lot of officials, even presidents of the country, got infected by the COVID-19, right? Within not today, and we know that the U.S. government, Biden administration, right now trying to push the 90-day investigation for the Wuhan lab origin. So how do you view the action right now? It seems like Biden is coordinating with former President Trump on the same lab origin theory of the COVID-19.
It leads me to be curious as to how much President Biden is actually in control.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I don't think any of us think he's in any kind of control right now, or has been since he's been in office. And that's a great question, and that kind of segues into the next thing I want to ask Chris. And what are your thoughts about the social media, especially Facebook, blocking everything that President Trump said about this virus coming from the lab in Wuhan, and to expose the CCP and their role in the creation of the virus. Just kind of want to get your thoughts on that, on social media and involvement in this whole situation.
Well, we kind of saw what happened the moment Trump stepped out of office. Facebook banned him, Twitter banned him. Facebook has a long history of banning information that they do not want to let out on their platform. And it really puts them into a precarious position because they like to claim that they're only a platform. Yet the moment they start taking editorial opinion, that kind of throws that out of the boat, and they don't have a leg to stand on anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm really shocked at how the MSM and social media and the big tech and the left all almost coordinated this attack against someone they didn't like. That's really what this comes down to. And this carries over into the Biden presidency, too, where you have him signing 12 or 13 executive orders overturning anything that Trump put into effect while he was in office. It had nothing, again, to do with putting America at the top. It actually put us at the bottom. Look at the executive orders that was signed and what happened. For instance, the border, what's happening there, and COVID plays a big part in that too. We had thousands and thousands of immigrants coming up from the south, from Guatemala, that were infected with COVID-19, that were just pouring through the gates because Biden opened up to everybody. And we know that the bottom line to that is the reason why they did it. They want votes. That's really it all comes down to. Hey, we'll let you in the border, and we're also working on this thing where you have to mail in votes. So we'll just send someone out to you, and we'll show you how to fill out that vote, just so you vote Democratic. You know what I mean? So that's the whole scandal behind all of this, and that's the shameful part of it all, is that our government is using this as against us, against our own legitimacy of voting. And voter fraud. Chris and I were talking about this before the show. There's something coming down the pipe here with the voter fraud situation. We'll be sure to talk about that in the future. So yeah, that's what I have about that so far. Are we going to have
yes.
Fox? We're going to talk to Fox?
Right. I think
I didn't mean to skip over you there in the beginning, Chris. Sorry about that.
It's quite okay.
We're still trying to figure out what how this show's going to work.
Yeah, of course. I think Chris mentioned a couple important points on the COVID-19 and how, the U.S. perspectives dealing with this pandemic, and how the new president, the Biden administration, has brought up some old problems. And we see how right now the pandemic was still in the struggle, and people still have the vaccines available. We still see the increasing numbers of infected cases. So that's a huge problem right now. So let's get connected with Fox right now to hear some Europe voice about the COVID-19 and the vaccines out there. So good evening, Fox. We're very honored to have you with us for the guest tonight.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, Fox, we can hear you very well. Please say hi to our audience.
Hello, everyone. Here's Fox speaking. It's very good. It's very happy today. This morning, you get a call. I can come to this show. It's really interesting, and I also want to tell everyone how is the world going, how is Europe, how is Germany. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Fox. We appreciate it. We know how late it is in in Germany right now. So I guess Isla's going to open us up and ask you some questions here.
So Fox, we were very curious about the current COVID-19 situations in Europe. We also know that, in Paris and France, a lot of the situations, we see the news right there. So how's the pandemic going in your local community?
In that moment, it's lockdown. In Germany, it's since last year. Until now, it's all the time lockdown. Now slowly have a little bit open, but it's not the way like really people want. This is too complicated. But everyone now gets so much want for injection, then can have summer holiday. We could not really understand why, but they do it. And our friends, everyone we know, they are so happy to have it. And at that moment, I don't know what can I do, but this is the way now in Germany. Yeah.
Thank you, Fox. I think you've mentioned a couple interesting points. First of all, constant lockdowns in the local community, and people still suffered from home quarantines. They've changed their daily schedules. And another thing is that we see right now that people are craving for the COVID vaccine injections. And Fox has made an interest point that people don't really understand or know about the side effects of the vaccines, but they just willing and happy or even excited to go for the shot. So, Fox, let me ask you one question. Why don't you believe in the vaccines available right now? Do you think vaccines can be one solution for this pandemic?
No, it doesn't work because since this year we could see a lot of people get injection, but it's everything not coming down. You could see nothing coming down. The children still cannot go to school, and you could not get safe. You don't feel safe anyway. That's why nobody think about what is really coming. Everyone only want to have the injection, then they feel safe and want to have more planning for the summer holiday. I could not really understand, but now it's this way. And today I can come to this show. I just want to tell everyone now what happens in the world now, that moment in Germany, that way, because I could see it every day in front of me, my neighbor, my friend, everyone. They are so happy to have it, and they want to get it more fast. They even say, I can call the doctor, maybe they can have something left today. I just drive to the hospital to get the injection. I feel crazy, but it's happened now every moment in Europe, in Germany. It's the way. Nobody could really understand. Now we sit together, speak about this, but it's happened every day now. People went to hospital to have the injection, and nobody tell the truth in the world. Yeah.
Right, Fox. I think you also talk about, I think just like what Chris said about the vaccines, people are feeling safe after they get injections, but they don't really understand the process, and they are waiting for the summer holiday seasons. They feel like once they get injected for the vaccines, they are safe and happy to go for the holidays. And that's also another side effect of the pandemic, people being locked in their homes for a whole year, and that's very normal. We are all human beings. We need outdoor times in our lives. So Chris has talked a little bit about how he had participated in the movement and how he believed in Dr. Li Man-Yan, got to know the greatest virologist in the world right now. So, Fox, maybe you could talk a little bit more about your understanding of Dr. Li Man-Yan and her role in exposing the truth of COVID-19.
Of course, I'm following longer now in our situation. So, of course, I know what is Dr. Li Man-Yan, what she said, what she tell us, and I'm 100% believe what she speak. Because in the world, they have really the power to stay in a situation like Dr. Li Man-Yan, because they give up everything about herself. Family, husband, whatever, everything. Now she's alone in America and tell everyone in the world what is the truth. Why we don't believe a person such have really good heart to believe such government or whatever. Dr. Li Man-Yan, she's all the time tell us the truth, and we see her paper exactly what happens and we could see everything. But the government or the social media, of course, social media tell us the truth. The truth, the way is like what they want. They want, I could think, but it doesn't true. It doesn't true, and everybody only follow them, but they don't look at the really truth. I could not really understand, but I'm trying all the time to tell person around me, people around me. Sometimes they understand me and like to talk with me. Sometimes they just run away. But I must do it. As for my heart, I must save everyone what I can. This is for my opinion. Yeah, thank you.
I feel the exact same way about that, Fox. And again, I thank you for being on the show. This whole thing, we would be in a situation right now, like I said earlier this evening, beginning of the show, that we wouldn't be in the situation we were in if the rest of the U.S. and the world listened to Dr. Li Mingyang when she came around. I mean, I don't know how many times we can say that or make that a point. It's so important to do what you're doing, though, to continue to spread what she's saying and what she's trying to share with us, because when you stop telling the truth, then the lies take over and a lot more people die. We're to the point now where we're finally, the MSM has realized their mistake. Unfortunately, it may be a little too late. We probably could have saved millions of lives, but that's not what happened, and we just have to kind of move from this point forward, and hopefully they'll start to have more faith in what we're trying to tell them, not only here on GTV, but elsewhere in the world where other people do agree with what we're saying. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
Okay. Hi, Fox. Are you still here with us?
No, yeah, now I can hear you.
Please switch to the earpods so that we don't hear the echo in the program. Thank you.
Yeah, we're still having our growing pains here. I can hear my voice four times since the beginning of the show, but that's all right. I'm still dealing with it.
Yeah, please bear with us, our fringers. Just give us the special guest some time to switch to your pod so that we have a better presentation of our program.
How about now?
You switch to the earpods, right, Fox?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well. All right, so Fox, I think you've mentioned a couple interesting. We actually hear you very clearly. Can you hear us right now?
Now everything's fine.
Great. She said everything's fine.
Okay, so yeah, let's move along with the conversation. I think we've discussed about like the COVID vaccines, local community lockdowns, and how Dr. Li Mingyang and our own understandings of the virologist. And I see some similarity between Chris's experience and understanding this virus and how Fox interprets the current situation. And I think Fox had mentioned a couple interesting things about the social media and all of those silence on the truth of the COVID-19. So any European mainstream media that reports the origin of the pandemic being the Wuhan lab in China.
Not so much, very little, but you could see some start already. That is the way what for us is really good, because before it's totally empty. you could not see any words from them. But now start slowly, we could see some little little report is start already. But now the good way is in Europe, everybody speak and talk about where it's come from, this CCP virus. Before, everybody must say that it's nature, not true, but it's not real. But no, it's wrong, because everyone will say, why you speak that way? What do you think? You know, before they push you so much, but now they start to talk. That's for me. For myself, I feel much more better, and I'm waiting for later maybe can come be more better, but not like in America, what everybody can see it. Yeah, it's not start yet, but we wait for the nice life. We wait for tomorrow. Yeah, thank you.
Chris, I think even in the United States, there's an evolution of the media talking about the origins of this virus, because back to 2020, we see all of the reports being directing the origin of the pandemic being nature. Dr. Fauci went out saying people don't have to wear masks, then people have to wear double masks to be safe, right? We see all of those ironies on the mainstream media. How do you interpret this evolution from nature to Wuhan lab right now? It took us a year to be in the position where we are.
I don't think it's by accident. I think that we have mainstream media trying to save face right now. There are a lot of similar whistleblower movements. One I can mention probably is Project Handed, with expose news articles that expose these mainstream media players for exactly who they are, complete and total frauds. That's what's going on. And I think what they're trying to do right now is save a little bit of face, because CNN, well, I think I read a report not too long ago that said once Trump stepped out of office, they lost half their viewership. So they're looking for a way to bring people back in, because revenue is dropping. It hurts the bottom line.
David, what are your thoughts on this?
I agree with that. There's definitely some kind of, and I said this before, the mainstream media's play in all this had everything to do with anti-Trump theories and rhetoric. That's what they, like Chris said, and I like to piggyback on it. That's what they made their money on. They really did. When Trump was not reelected, they were all thinking about that bottom line. I'll tell you that right now. I can agree with Chris on that 100%. They're like, oh my God, what are we going to do now? We have no way to get people to watch us, because there's no guy we can talk bad about that's in office. We got to support Biden because we're as far left as we can get here over at CNN, which I like to refer to as the communist news network.
It's true.
Yeah. So that's my thoughts on that, Isla. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think the two gentlemen right here shared interesting viewpoints on how social media is like to believe what kind of origins it would be for the pandemic. And I think Fox had made a wonderful point that not a lot of European media points out the lab origin of the COVID-19. So, Fox, let me ask you one more question about this. I know that you are an immigrant. A lot of our whistleblowers, family members, they are all immigrants into the Western society. In your opinion, how much can we do to affect the local community, to have our voice to be heard, and what kind of actions do you take to spread the word, to spread the truth of COVID-19 into your local community?
I don't know in that moment, because in Germany, since I started doing all the things, now I have show every day in GTV, and have a lot of friends in Germany start to follow me and start to talk with me. But now for the German person, it's really difficult now. Yeah.
Right.
Because
Right.
but my husband has write G News in German, so it's much better because they really start to read it, and you could see in the back they did open it and they did send out with everyone. We could see it. It's a start, and we also can see in the Telegram. Everyone in German they start to read the different news. It's not like before anymore, and they really try to know the truth, and they don't push so much like before anymore. I could see it, but it's slowly, and now it started already. I don't know which moment. Maybe everyone is come to GTV or the Gator or whatever, but now we could see the start, and the friends also ask what has happened, what do you know more, and we could see more news and send to friends. They also interesting of it. This is slowly, but now every day it's get better and better. Yeah, thank you.
Percent Fox. That's a great viewpoint and a great comment you made there, because I think what people are starting to realize now is how important GTV is in this game. How we are bringing them the information that nobody else was telling them about before. You go back to that again and again. I don't know how many times, and until people start listening, and that's what we're doing here. And I'm so glad that you're representing us that way, and you have a show yourself on GTV where you do not. Believe me, I know what that's all about. I do it because I believe in it so much, and that's really what it's all about. The bottom line is, to take down the CCP, and they're painting themselves in a corner right now. I really think that. I really think that with us doing what we do, exposing them, doing what we do every single week, every single day, whenever we can, it's really starting to wear away at the CCP, which is something to be said for a startup company like GTV, and we're really proud of that. And it's actually we're very, very, very happy that you're doing that also, and we're very proud of you, Fox, and thank you so much for your dedication to us like that.
Yeah, I think Fox has also mentioned that her husband actually wrote in German to help the local community to understand what we're doing and the truth of this pandemic. And she herself, being the co-host and host for a lot of programs on GTV, that's how her family right now. Gentlemen right here representing the American community role. Immigrant, how do you interpret and how do you understand the local community in this movement?
Oh, okay, thank you. Actually, I'm already long time did not speak English anymore, and today I'm really nervous. I don't know if you could see it.
You did a great
You're doing
job.
great, yeah.
Maybe I have much more.
You should see Chris.
Yeah,
no, I'm
maybe
kidding.
I have
He's doing
much-
fantastic.
Maybe I have much more things to say, but at that moment, it's really for my language. I could not really speak like Chinese or the German or whatever, but. What I feel is now in the world is really changed. We just think about 1 year ago. 1 year ago, which kind of life we have. Everybody speak about us just like we are crazy, really. So, also my neighbor look at my husband like look someone crazy, because my husband all the time tell them what happened in the world and the CCP virus. And how to start, and now how it's going. And everyone just see him like, oh, I just run away because this guy again stay there 3 hours, talk with me that things. But now it's changed. I really feel it's different because someone will call us and ask what happened and what we know more. It's done like before anymore. We must say, after this 1 year, everything has changed much more and better. We must have this feeling, this hope, we will win because we speak the truth. We never let the liars stay in the world. We must fight. We must stay there and speak the truth day and day. We could not say we give the world for them. No, no way. We stay here. Just like David told me, we must speak the truth, let the liar die. This for me, it's really, I like to hear this. For me, it's a power. Really, it's a power.
Oh yeah, truth is power. Absolutely. Yeah, she's talking about truth and how much more powerful that is than lies, obviously. And we know, all of us, that the CCP is built on lies completely. So yeah, just it's so much more easy to tell the truth. It really is. It feels good. And then when the truth comes to fruition, you feel like you've won a small battle in this huge war that we're fighting, not only against the CCP, but this entire COVID and everything else. So yeah, it's a great feeling, definitely.
Well, thank you, Fox, for staying with us. I know it's already 2 a.m. probably in the morning, and you're still doing the broadcast with us. We really appreciate your time and participation, and it's always very inspiring to hear your experience and your opinions on the COVID-19 and your participation in this movement. Thank you, Fox.
Thank you so much, Fox. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
have a
Chris,
nice
I think
weekend.
Fox actually mentioned a couple great points right there. She said it's very lonely to support the whistleblowers movement in the local community, especially at the very beginning. People view their families as crazy people because the lab origin of the COVID-19 sounds like a conspiracy theory, right?
Yeah.
So how does that did that become a problem for you? Do you feel lonely? Because we know that the mainstream media are trying to hide all of the truth, and a lot of the news reports that we read right now are very misleading. So how do you navigate yourself in the movement?
Well, it's tricky at times. The mainstream media, anything they don't want to talk about, is quickly characterized as a conspiracy theory, just like you said.
Exactly.
And you can say that about untold number of things, right? Whether it be the release of the virus by the CCP, or election fraud. How many years have we heard that? To look at things. So what's going to be interesting is how and when are these additional truths going to start rolling out?
Yeah, the election fraud thing, and that's, you mentioned it before, and that's one of those things, again, with the mainstream media and big tech just shutting anyone down that even said those two words together, election fraud.
Yeah.
You were banned from saying anything, and our First Amendment rights were instantly being challenged and being questioned, and it was a tough time to go through. It really was. Watching our president getting treated like a third-class citizen.
Right.
And he was right the whole time. He was. About COVID, and here we are. Here we are, a year later, saying what? Told you so.
It's funny because, I don't watch mainstream media anymore, but every now and then I'll watch, news programs from other avenues that have clips from particular personalities from, say, CNN or MSNBC, and you can literally see their heads exploding lately. And it's quite entertaining to watch.
That's the truth. That's the truth. And I do the same thing because it's like they say, Isla, keep your friends close, keep your enemies even closer. I always keep one eye open, see what they're talking about, see what they're up to. And I love that too. I really love to see their little heads popping, knowing that we were right the whole time. It's so difficult for them to admit it too.
It is.
But when you have the question of humanity, and that's what's happening here now, there's no way that you can defend what's been happening to everyone in this world because of this coronavirus. How many people, millions have died and hundreds of millions have been infected. Now that the truth is coming out, the truth we've been trying to share with people this whole time, they can't, there's nothing they can do about it now. They just got to deal with it, and they got to sleep in the bed that they made, Chris.
right? In one particular piece of evidence that we have is at first when the vaccines became available, there were people clamoring to get the vaccines. And as time has gone on, certain side effects have started to show up. The eagerness to get this experimental drug has waned, and I think it's something along 7 out of 10 people are shying away from getting it at this point.
That's the number I heard too. 70%. That's 70% were shying away from it. And that's the thing when you start hearing about blood clotting and people dying. And now, Chris, and that was a great point, is that people are starting to realize that this thing was made in a lab. They're listening to us, like I said. So the vaccine that they made for it wasn't the vaccine for the virus that was made in a lab. And that's what's scaring people away.
I think... I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Given that clinical trials for this vaccine don't end until 2023, that makes us the lab rats.
You're not putting that in my body. Nope. And I like to share this. I don't know if you heard me talk about this before, but it's in reference to the vaccine, and it almost becomes like a joke when I share it. It sounds like I'm setting up a joke, but it's really not. But it's the truth, and it's a friend of mine who's an American, best friend of mine. We've been friends for 27 years, and we talk about the virus, the vaccine, and he asked me if I'm getting my shot, and I said no, I'm not going to do that right now. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, man. I listened to my podiatrist. They said get your shot. My doctor said get your shot. My who else did he talk to? Oh, his proctologist said get your shot. So what did your virologist say? That's
Good
who you got to
question.
listen to. And my virologist is Dr. Lee Mingyan. And I think I'm blessed, actually, Chris and Isla, to be married to a Chinese woman, to open my world, my eyes to this world. I don't know that I would have ever known about this because I was one of the ones that would have been in the group that's hidden from all this because I wasn't exposed to Miles Guo and GTV and the new federal state of China and the whistleblower movement. Right. I think about it, I'm so blessed and lucky. And you know what I'm talking
blessed
about.
And lucky as well.
Chris and I share that. We both share the fact that we have Chinese wives. So we're very lucky American men on many, many, many levels. Believe that. Which a shout out to our wives there, Chris.
That's right.
Yeah, but great point, son. I really like the way this conversation is turning here. It was,
I'm really glad that David has mentioned this. Well, since we're talking about the international marriage, the two gentlemen enjoy right here. So I wanna spend probably 10 or 15 minutes right here for Chris to talk about like how does your wife affect you in the whistleblowers movement? Because I know that your wife introduced you into this whistleblowers movement. And how much do you know about China? How much do you know about the CCP? Why do you support your wife taking a big role here in the whistleblowers movement?
Wow, that's a big question.
we got time.
Take your time.
you have the floor, buddy.
Like I said, my wife got connected with the whistleblowers movement somewhere between 12 and 18 months ago. And first it was kind of following along and listening to Miles Guo talk on the internet, talk on G News, talk on GTV. Over time, she got more and more involved. And lately, I think it's almost a 24/7 job for her.
Right.
And I support her 110% because she has an amazing purpose. She has an amazing goal, which is to get rid of a tyrannical government that is poisoning this planet. So hopefully, we're all going to be successful and the CCP will just up and disappear, along with the Biden administration.
Oh, man.
I think that's another scenario.
What a world that would be.
Yeah, it's much better.
Oh,
much
God.
better.
Talk about isn't it amazing that right now we're talking about that, like how bad things really are right now?
I think Biden's daily schedule pretty much says it all. If you look at his presidential schedule, it's usually from about 9 to 10:30 in the morning and goes till maybe 2:30 when it's time for him to go back to his basement.
Yeah. And that's one of the important things we need to realize about all this is and we've talked about this in the past, Chris, on past shows, is the decoupling process. And,
Right.
you know, the way that you kill the snake is you cut off the head.
Yes.
You decouple from China, you know, the
Obviously.
CCP dies. That's what happens. They depend on us. Trump made everyone realize and believe that we did not need what China provided to us. There was no need to have a close relationship with China, and he started that decoupling process. And it's a proven fact that that's one of the major ways to take down the CCP. They give that impression by lying again that we need them more than they need us, and that's not the way it is. No. Trump showed us, Chris and Isla, that we can stand on our own 2 feet. And he really did, and he put us first in so many different ways, ways that we haven't seen in 8 years before that. With with BOH, yeah.
Well, think of it this way: during the Trump administration, America got to the point of being energy independent.
Yeah.
And the
That's
moment
correct.
he left office, some signatures were done, and suddenly that disappeared.
Yeah.
Which got rid of jobs, which got rid of it just started trickling down and just flatlined the economy.
Well, the big one was the Keystone Pipeline.
Exactly.
I mean, they shut it down. They shut down the pipeline.
Yeah.
It happened during COVID. So people not only, lost jobs, they lost jobs during a time when, there was a lot of sickness going around, and it was just, it was like a double whammy for everybody.
Right.
It was unbelievable. So we not only were economically shot because of that, it even went further into debt, because now these people that don't have jobs got to collect unemployment, and
Right.
and the left loves that, though, Chris. You know that.
Well,
the Democrats want us to we'll give you money and just keep you at home and let us do what we do on the side over here that you don't know about, and that's what they're doing. Isla, is they're turning us, or they're attempting to turn us into a socialist government, and that's what their end game is, I think, and that's the scariest part about all of it, really.
You know who the biggest competition that small businesses have right now in order to get people employed? The United States government. Because of all of the stimulus programs, it's just as economical for people to stay home and get paid than it is to go out and actually make an effort and work for money.
Yeah, absolutely. And the stimulus payments were, people were getting unemployment checks, plus they were getting an extra $600 every week. They were making way more money getting unemployment than they would. Yeah, and it kept them out of the workforce. It destroyed our economy. And behind all that, Isla, was the CCP.
Right.
They were sitting back and saying,
Definitely.
we did this.
It was all about weaken America.
That's right. We've talked about that before.
Right.
Weaken us from the inside, and we are that much more vulnerable from the outside.
Right.
And the CCP, as bad as they are, they're smart that way.
Right.
They played their cards right. They knew exactly what they needed to do, and it worked.
Yeah.
And the fact that now we're all, us here especially, and GTV are akin to that, and we make people aware of that. We just got to keep spreading the word like we do, Isla, and hopefully someday that, I think we're seeing a turning point here, Isla and Chris. I really do. I think
Absolutely.
we're seeing this thing start to turn in our favor, and it's, as much as it hurts to say CNN agrees with us, but you know what? CNN agrees with us.
Well, they're coming around. I'm not sure that they'll ever completely be on the side of America or Americans.
We need to weaken them from the inside and take them down, too. There's no way, on a side note, that Don Lemon should even be a broadcaster. I can't believe how racist that man is. I mentioned it in a few episodes. He's unbelievable.
He is.
But he really is. And it just shows you, you can listen to Don, or you can come in here and listen to us, And we're just going to tell you the truth. That's the way it is.
I think we're reaching a lot of fruitful contents right here. So, Chris, in your understanding, how do you interpret the CCP's role in the United States? How do you evaluate the relationship in the current moment between the CCP and the United States? And how do you differentiate CCP and Chinese people? So you guys have international marriages. Yes. You understand the local culture, and I know you've visited China a couple times. You've enjoyed your visits.
Absolutely.
So how do you interpret the relationship between the Chinese Communist Party and Chinese people?
I don't think there is a relationship. There's no real relationship at all, because what's interesting is while I was over there, the programming on Chinese television always, I never understood what was going on, honestly, but you could tell by what was going on. It reminded me of television in America about 30 years ago, where the good guys always win in the end, right? No matter who they say the good guys is, the good guys always win in the end. Whereas programming over here in America is completely the opposite, it seems nowadays. The good guy always ends up in a ditch somewhere.
Yeah.
But, the CCP and its connection with America, it's everywhere. It's in politics.
Right.
It's in education.
That's right.
It's
Of
in
course.
Hollywood.
That's right.
You cannot watch a movie that doesn't have some tie-in with the CCP these days. They literally rewrite movies so that they can be released in China, and it goes all the way back to Avatar. I think Avatar was one of the first ones that was of that category. They changed things that the Chinese Communist Party didn't like about the movie, and just so that they could release it and get all those, Chinese citizens' dollars to go and see it, so that it could be the highest grossing movie in history. And we've seen this time and time again with other movies, and it's just they're getting deeper and deeper into the Hollywood crowd. Education, we know that education in America has been leading down a communist path for probably since the 60s, maybe even before that. Politics, well, we know that Uncle Joe is owned, bought and paid for by
That's right.
by the CCP, so it's difficult to get away from. We know that the CCP has been building ports all across the globe, and they create these loan programs for the country where
Belt and
they're...
Road Initiative.
Yeah,
Right.
the One
BRI.
Belt, One Road.
Yep.
They create these loan programs that these poor countries have absolutely no chance of fulfilling. The Chinese Communist Party, the government comes in, takes over the port, and now they own it outright forever. And it's highway robbery, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's not, and you brought us a couple of things that I've talked to, almost to the word, the way you said that there, in the past on my shows. And the Belt and Road Initiative is one of those things where they're trying to conquer the world, and they go to these third world countries, and they know
Right.
that these countries aren't going to be able to pay them back once this infrastructures are all complete. And it's not only that they take over a port or they take over a city. If they don't have the money to pay back the CCP, they'll actually say, "I'll tell you what,
support
yeah,
them.
just support. Just say I support Xi
Yeah.
Jinping. Yeah, that's all you got to do.
I think they're probably doing something like that in Jamaica as we speak.
That's happening in a lot of places. But one thing we did talk about, Chris, and it's a great point that you brought up the BRI, and it's something I really like to talk about, is that countries are actually starting to catch on to the scam.
Look at what Australia just did.
Yeah, Australia cut off the deal. New Zealand did before that, I believe, and I think we talked about another country that did a couple episodes ago. But yeah, you're right, and the infiltration is there. I get the feeling when we talk about it and we examine it and we look at it closer. You talked about education. We've talked about this before in the show.
Right.
Confucius Institutes came into our colleges, and they came with the cover that they were teaching the culture of China, but they were doing nothing but jamming propaganda, CCP propaganda, into these impressionable young students' heads in college. And we started catching on to that too, and there's schools that are starting to break away from the Confucius Institute. And of course, you have the left battling against us on that one, saying, well, you're a racist and a xenophobe, that because you don't want to have Confucius Institutes in your college. Well, you don't want your kids that, they're not seeing the big picture, that it really is all infiltration by the CCP, and it's scary, and people don't know about it, and that's why we talk about it on the show. And brought some really great topics there, man. Things that I've definitely covered.
And these seem to be hot topics, no matter what.
Yeah,
so.
and in particular, Avatar. I have a friend in the entertainment industry, and we talked about that movie specifically, that they did re-release that in China to make more money.
Yep.
And one of the things you have to remember with this is, if you're trying to decouple from a nation, you can't allow our entertainment industry, you can't allow our athletes to support or be a part of that. And that kind of segues into the Olympics, Chris.
Yeah.
Do we, or do we not? And of course, I say we do boycott the Olympics. Beijing next winter.
I know. I have a hard time disagreeing with you. I mean, I hate it for the athletes, but a stand has to be made, right?
Yes.
Right.
But the question I wind up having is, who does it really hurt, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because we kind of witnessed that with the Russian Olympics when we boycotted them. I forget when it was, but didn't we boycott some Russian Winter Olympics at one time?
I think so. Was it Sarajevo? Was it?
I don't know. It's
You got me on that one.
It's just something that popped into my head, and I think that was the case, and I'm not sure.
Why didn't we boycott the Olympics in Germany? Hitler.
Right. Well, the good thing that came out of that is Jesse Owens took the gold.
That's right. Not only a man from America, but a black man from America.
That's right.
That was, Hitler was steaming, wasn't he?
He was not
that
pleased.
Was great. Oh, that was beautiful. I wasn't there, but man, I just go, I'll get on YouTube every once in a while. Yeah, right. But so I'm with the opinion that we should absolutely boycott the Olympics in Beijing because you're supporting a government, and it's actually the next topic I was going to get into, is that you're supporting a government that is committing genocide against not only their own people, but against the rest of the world, because now the pressure's on. It's out there now. CNN mentioned it, so now then mainstream media is in on it, that, they released this virus that killed millions, infected hundreds of millions, and within their own country, there's genocide going on in Xinjiang with the Uyghurs. I know this for a fact that the genocide is occurring because the CCP basically is racist against Muslims, and the reason why is because they're calling them terrorists and they want to recondition them. We all know they're putting them in concentration camps. They're calling it reconditioning, but the reason why they're labeled as terrorists is because they're actually fighting back against the CCP. So that makes them terrorists. Just backtracking 1 second, the Olympic thing, the Chinese people, I thought that, I felt bad that we were boycotting, that because of the people, but really, I wanted to make this a side note. The money's going into the pockets of the CCP anyway.
Well, it's not going to the people.
That's right. The people of China do not benefit from the Olympics. Whatever money's made,
they're doing the labor.
That's right. You got that right.
They're making the T-shirts. They're making the tennis shoes. But they're not seeing any of the income.
That's right. So I just wanted to I'm sorry, I kind of went off track there, but it was a really important point I wanted to get back to and make before we move on. Yeah. But so it is the genocide of the Uyghurs, and the issue is that if you support a country that is having Olympic Games and you go there for the Olympics, you're basically saying to them, we support what you're doing. That's what you're doing. And that's the problem, Isla, is humanity is at question here. And as an athlete, I know it's difficult for them because they've spent their whole lives since they were this big training to be these amazing, and they're amazing athletes. Yeah. It's something to behold when you watch them. I would love to see it live sometime in person. That would be, something I'd love to do in the future. Bucket list, I guess they say.
Yeah.
But the point is that you don't support a country that's doing what they're doing to the Uyghurs. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Isla?
Right. I think did a lot of small talks about my experience, my trip to Xinjiang, because I actually witnessed the reconditioning camps for the Uyghurs, and I was very shocked about the size of the camps and how many institutions, dorms, hospitals. They have institutions from kindergartens to universities within the camp itself, and all of the labor work you do inside goes back to what you earned in the camp, and you pay, you get groceries. It seems like another world once you enter the gate of the reconcentration camp, and it's almost inevitable for the Uyghurs who lived in Xinjiang. If you are very much anti-CCP, this is the end of your life being right there. And what's the point of having kindergartens right there? They have babies, right? All of the families of the Uyghurs, they have, it's not only adults, they have babies right there. That's the scary part of it. once you are Uyghur, then your life is right there. And even though you are not, let's say not every Uyghur people would be put in the concentration camp, but most Uyghurs actually would be put into remote places to do cheap labor work so that they won't have a decent living and they don't have the power, have the wealth to fight back to the CCP. And that's what. And it's very common in China to see. I think it's not only occurred to Uyghurs, it occurred to the work unions. You see a lot of parents when their children got vaccines and they have all of the side effects. The only thing that they can do is to kowtow to the CCP so that they let you alive.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, you guys actually have a very deep understanding of the regime, but I think it's still very challenging and difficult for American people to understand what the life would be if you're anti-CCP and you live in mainland China. How many risks would you take being there just to say something that truly from your bottom of your heart, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. I was thinking about that, Chris, when she was talking about it. Could you imagine living in China and being anti-CCP? You already know. You end up in jail or you end up disappeared.
That's
what they say. You get
disappeared,
which means they'll kill you and bury you under